Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the podcast. And today I am going to go over my review of Friday Night Smackdown. Starting off the evening, we have a U.S. title matchup. It is LA Knight defending the U.S. title against Andrade. I thought it was a great match, man. It was a great way to start Smackdown. Back and forth matchup between Andrade and LA Knight, with Knight keeping the pace of the match. Andrade hits a moonsault, taking out Knight to the outside. Andrade then hits a running knee for a near fall. LA Knight gets up, hits a power slam on Andrade. Knight goes to the top rope, hits an elbow drop on Andrade. Andrade gets up, hits a spinning back elbow on LA Knight for a near fall, but LA Knight hits his signature BFT on Andrade, pins for the 3, and your winner of the match, and still WWE US Champion, is LA Knight. Hats off to LA Knight for getting the win in this matchup. Moving on from that, probably one of the most important pieces of SmackDown that happened on Friday night. It was Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns face-to-face for the first time since WrestleMania. They were pretty much face-to-face at the Georgia Tech Stadium, football stadium, the alma mater, if you will, of Roman Reigns, where he played college football. I thought this was awesome, man. The production was great. The way that Roman Reigns pulled up in an SUV, you got Cody Rhodes pulling up as well in a vehicle. Cody and Roman get face-to-face in the middle of the stadium. Roman talks about playing football for Georgia Tech. Roman then asks Cody what has he done in the city of Georgia. Cody then says his family has bled for this city, all over Georgia. Cody says that Georgia is his home. Roman says that it's a lose-lose for Cody, being involved in this bloodline. Roman says that the new bloodline took everything from him, including Jimmy. Cody says that Roman is a chief without a tribe, which he also mentioned this when they were having their build-up towards WrestleMania. Cody says that the WWE already has a tribal chief in Solo Sikoa. Cody then wants Roman's word that he has his back in this tag team matchup at Bad Blood. Roman agrees. Roman then says that when it's all over, he wants his title back. And then Roman walks away, stops, looks at Cody, and says that he is in his way in life. A couple of things I want to talk about this, man. Number one, the production value of this, man, this was a movie. This was a bona fide cinema between Roman and Cody Rhodes. Now, I don't know who the producer was. I think Paul Heyman had a lot to do with this, from what I understand. This was fantastic. This was great, man. And to see Roman come back into the fold of SmackDown, I've been mentioning it for the past few weeks, that SmackDown kind of missed Roman. Even as us fans were missing Roman. It was great to see him come back and to have this face-to-face between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, man. This is great. I think, for what it's worth, a lot of people, there's some people out there that are actually pissed off that Cody is still a part of this bloodline storyline. I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great. I think Cody has some unfinished business with the bloodline. And I think Cody, when as far as the bloodline story continues, I think Cody Rhodes is going to be a little bit of a part of that, because he played a big part, a key role into this bloodline. If you look at WrestleMania last year, when they brought in The Rock and Roman, and you had a tag match with Cody and Seth, and The Rock and Roman Reigns, and then obviously Cody dethroning Roman Reigns, becoming the new WWE champion. I mean, Cody plays a detrimental part in this bloodline storyline. So I would not be surprised if we see Cody possibly a part of this bloodline again, possibly at Survivor Series in Vancouver. So I would not be surprised if he's a part of the War Games matchup with Roman. And the biggest storyline out of this was Roman telling Cody that he's going to have his back in this tag team matchup at Bad Blood, but will Roman truly have Cody's back? Or is Cody going to turn heel and attack Roman? And obviously there's other question marks involved in this as well. Where's Jimmy Uso? I know a lot of people are wondering what's going on with Jimmy. Is Jimmy going to return back to SmackDown? Is he going to align himself back up with Roman Reigns? Are we going to hear anything from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as well leading up to Survivor Series? I mean, there's a lot of still unanswered questions right now just when it pertains to Roman Reigns. I mean, obviously Roman is going to have to rebuild a stable to go up against Solo Sikoa's new bloodline. So again, Roman's going to have to put those feelers out to see who's going to align themselves with Roman Reigns. Is it going to be Jimmy? Is it going to be Sami Zayn? Are we going to see Jey Uso realign himself up with Roman Reigns to take down this new bloodline? So there's a lot of interesting angles that are going into this bloodline storyline. And I think just from what we saw with Cody and Roman, it was fantastic. Having them in Georgia, and obviously, both Roman and Cody have a lot of allegiance to Georgia. You know, obviously Georgia Tech is Roman Reigns' alma mater. He played college football there for Georgia Tech years and years ago. And it's Cody's hometown. Cody's from Atlanta, Georgia. He's had a lot of time to wrestle with Georgia. His father, Dusty Rhodes, also wrestled for WCW. Obviously, the WCW, home, if you will, was in Atlanta, Georgia. And Cody had mentioned that in the promo that he had back and forth with Roman Reigns. So obviously, there was a lot of, bloodshed from the Rhodes family, being that, they were a part of WCW, which was pretty much their home of WCW was in Atlanta, Georgia, run by Turner. So, I mean, obviously, Cody has a lot of allegiance and, a lot of pride from Georgia, as well as Roman Reigns. So, I mean, obviously, there's that right there alone that they can build off of. And like I said, man, I mean, the bloodline, when you look at SmackDown, and I mentioned this multiple times in the past now when it pertains to Raw and SmackDown, when you look at SmackDown, a lot of it comes down to Cody Rhodes and the bloodline. And that's what brings the fans in every single week to Friday Night SmackDown, because they are curious of what the hell is going on with Roman. Where is this bloodline storyline going to lead us to? What's Survivor Series going to look like? Is it going to be a civil war between the new bloodline and Roman Reigns' original bloodline? So there's a lot of angles that they can do here with this, and I'm all for it, man. This was probably the best part of Friday Night SmackDown this past Friday, man, with this segment alone between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns and this face-to-face they had at the Georgia Tech Stadium, man. I was all for it, man. So again, definitely looking forward to the Bad Blood matchup between Roman and Cody versus, I believe, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I'm definitely looking forward to that matchup. Moving on from that, we have Giovanni Vinci versus Apollo Crews. This was pretty much a squash match, man. Again, it was a little bit of a back and forth in the beginning. Giovanni was keeping the pace, but Apollo ends up hitting a roll-up again on Giovanni Vinci, pins him for the 3, and your winner of the match is Apollo Crews. After the match, Giovanni attacks Apollo, pretty much sending a message to Apollo Crews. Moving on from that, we have a Kevin Owens segment. Kevin Owens, he was watching on during the segment between Roman and Cody. Owens looked pissed off, and he kind of looked like he was kind of angry with Cody Rhodes. And obviously there's been a little hostility there between Cody and Kevin. They just recently had a matchup, I believe, at Bash at Berlin. So obviously there was a little hostility there. Tensions were a little high between Kevin and Cody. But Owens was watching on during the segment between Cody and Roman. Owens was going, he came down to the ring. He was going to address the situation between Cody and Roman, but he is interrupted by the bloodline. Tama Tonga grabs a microphone and says, last week Cody and Roman embarrassed the tribal chief. Owens then mocks Tama Tonga. Owens and Fatu both exchange in the middle of the ring. DIY is here. DIY try to save Owens. Nick Aldis is here. Aldis says that Owens and DIY versus a bloodline will main event SmackDown later on that night. Moving on from that, we have a Tornado Tag Team matchup. It is Nia Jax teaming up with Tiffany Stratton versus Naomi and Bayley. Now, with this matchup, there was a stipulation. The winner from Naomi and Bayley, whoever got the pinfall, would get a title matchup, I believe, at Bad Blood for Nia Jax's Women's Championship. Now, if whoever lost, whoever got the pinfall, if Nia Jax or Stratton, for what I believe, got a pinfall on either Naomi or Bayley, one of them would have to leave SmackDown forever and go over to Monday Night Raw. Now, the match itself was a good match. It was a back-and-forth matchup between both teams, with Naomi and Bayley keeping the pace of the match. But Naomi hits a roll-up with Bayley to pin, and your winners of the match were Naomi and Bayley. Now, after the match, they obviously went to the back and had a discussion with Nick Aldis, who is the general manager of SmackDown. And Aldis pretty much said, because they both were a part of this roll-up and the pinfall, that I believe it's going to be next week, Naomi will face off against Bayley, and the winner of that match will be the new #1 contender for Nia Jax's women's title, and they will face Nia Jax, I believe, at Bad Blood. So definitely looking forward to that matchup between Naomi and Bayley. Moving on from that, we go into the main event of Friday Night SmackDown. It is Kevin Owens and DIY versus the Bloodline. The Bloodline attacked DIY backstage. It was a decent match, back-and-forth matchup. The Bloodline quickly attack Owens at the ramp. Street Profits come out. Fatu hits a moonsault. Owens then hits a frog splash off the apron to the outside. Owens then hits a stunner. Referee then sounds for the bell. The match ends up turning into a no contest. The Bloodline end up attacking Owens and the Street Profits. DIY comes out to the ring, but the Bloodline attack DIY. Cody Rhodes is here, and Rhodes attacks the Bloodline to save Kevin Owens and DIY, but Kevin Owens picks up a chair, which it looks like Kevin Owens was going to hit Cody Rhodes with the steel chair. Looks like Kevin Owens might be turning heel relatively soon. A couple things I want to talk about, man, when it pertains to SmackDown before I get the hell out of here. Number one, Again, man, I hate saying it, but main roster's firing on all cylinders, man. And SmackDown, with what they did with that segment between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, was absolutely perfect. To me, if Paul Heyman was the producer of that segment, my hat's off to Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman knows exactly what the hell he's doing, and it was fantastic from top to bottom. And the back and forth banter, if you will, between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, man, it was absolutely perfect. They hit a lot of different angles in that segment. Obviously, Georgia was a hot topic. Cody Rhodes being from Georgia. Roman Reigns played his collegiate football, or had a collegiate football career, if you will, playing football for Georgia Tech. And they were in the Georgia Tech football stadium. It was a big deal. Obviously, the top two stars on SmackDown obviously are Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is the company guy, if I had to be honest with you guys. I told you guys this last week that Cody Rhodes is a guy that, I believe that with him being the world champion, obviously they have a lot of trust in Cody, and Cody can take this company to newer heights and newer levels. But the Bloodline plays a significant role in SmackDown. And I told you guys, if you guys like the Bloodline and Cody Rhodes, then SmackDown is the place to be. And, now that Roman Reigns has come back, and I mentioned this for the past few weeks, that SmackDown, desperately needs Roman to come back to address this Bloodline. Now that he's back, obviously, going into Bad Blood, teaming up with Cody Rhodes, there's still a lot of questions that have to be answered. Can Cody truly trust Roman Reigns in this tag team matchup against, the Bloodline, against, Fatu and Solo Sikoa? Can he trust Cody? Will Cody turn heel and attack Roman? Who knows? Will Roman attack Cody? Where's the rest of the Bloodline? Where's Jimmy? Will we see Jimmy at Bad Blood? Will Jimmy align himself back up with Roman Reigns? There's still a lot of questions that still have, we still need answers to. But for what it's worth and, what they're trying to do right now with this Bloodline, I think the angle is absolutely perfect. But like I said, man, SmackDown, if you look at the entire picture of SmackDown right now, obviously they got, new music, new logo. SmackDown looks great, man. SmackDown, is looking very, very good. A couple things I also want to get into, some news that came out about, obviously WWE pertains to Raw and SmackDown. Let's start with SmackDown. It has been speculated that SmackDown, once, I believe, Raw goes over to Netflix, SmackDown will be 3 hours as well as Monday Night Raw. Am I a big fan of that? No, I'm not. I think the idea of keeping SmackDown 2 hours is great. Pushing it to 3 hours, I just think it's a little too much. And it's just going to, it might hinder storylines, to be honest with you. But, obviously the main roster, Raw and SmackDown right now, WWE have a lot of things and a lot of plays in motion right now to elevate the brand. It's I mentioned this for the past couple of weeks, man. It's a global brand. And obviously they're having PLEs all over the world, all over the country. And it's a significant jump for WWE. And it's something that they're really capitalizing on. They're doing a hell of a job doing so. And when I looked at the Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes segment, I was like, man, it's a shame. And I hate bringing this up, but I have to. When you look at what AEW is doing with the lack of storylines and the lack of creative direction for what AEW is doing, and you look at what the hell he did on SmackDown with Cody and Roman, I wish that Tony Khan did what he did with Cody and Roman, especially with like Swerve and Paige, man. It would have been great. It would have been fantastic. And it's not like Tony Khan doesn't have the money or the finances to do something like this. It's just there's no creative, man, and it's sad. It really is, because it's not like AEW doesn't have the roster. They definitely have the roster. But as far as creative, man, WWE is leagues of their own right now compared to AEW as far as creative and storyline based and getting fans invested, man. WWE is, miles and miles ahead of what AEW is doing creatively. The other thing I want to talk about quickly is Kevin Owens. Now, I know Kevin Owens has been in the news a little bit here the past couple of weeks, and that his contract's coming up at the end of the year. And he hasn't re-signed, for what I understand, his new extension or new contract with WWE as far as his contract's concerned. And it has been speculated that Tony Khan and AEW, once he is a free agent, if he becomes a free agent, that Tony Khan is desperately going to go after Kevin Owens and offer him a lot of money. Am I blaming Tony Khan for that? Absolutely not. I think Kevin Owens, would do great things in AEW. Now, I don't know how he would fit into the roster, but would I hate seeing Kevin Owens or Kevin Steen in AEW? Absolutely not. Do I think that's going to happen? I'd be very surprised if we see Kevin Owens leave WWE to go over to AEW, to be honest with you. I just think Kevin Owens is a WWE guy. I just don't see him jumping ship to AEW. I don't see it, man. don't get me wrong, there's things that have happened within pro wrestling, and if you're a wrestling fan, that's why you're here. There's a lot of things in pro wrestling overall that's shocked a lot of people. A lot. I mean, from the good to the bad to the ugly. We can look at the Vince McMahon situation. We can look at, other issues in pro wrestling that shocked a lot of people. Obviously wrestlers that have passed on. Different incidents and stuff like that that's happened within WWE and stuff like that, or just pro wrestling overall. I mean, it's been the very high highs to the low lows. And we've all seen it, man. I mean, we've all had those moments in pro wrestling like, damn, I can't believe that happened, or holy shit, that happened. You know what I mean? It's going to happen. But at the end of the day, it's one of those things where, as WWE continues to grow, hopefully AEW continues to grow as well. And, for Kevin Owens, I don't, like I said, but I don't see him going anywhere. And like I said, a lot of talent do leave WWE. When Adam Copeland left, was I completely shocked? No. Because at the end of the day, there was nothing else more for Copeland to do in WWE. He's done it all. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a multi-time world champion, multi-time tag team champion. He's had a hell of a career, Hall of Fame career. And, it was time for him to move on and go into AEW, And obviously there were some wrestlers that shocked me going to AEW. Bryan Danielson was a big one, but do I see Kevin Owens leaving WWE? I'd be very, very surprised to see Owens leave WWE. And there's still free agents out there. I know Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP are still free agents, and they want to stay a team. And I know that AEW has been in talks with Bobby Lashley, which is great. But the problem is where do you fit him into the fold of AEW? Because right now there's no creative direction for AEW. AEW, and I've said this multiple times about AEW, to me, it's a 2.0 version or 3.0 version of All Japan Pro Wrestling. There's no storylines. It's just in-your-face action and wrestling, which some fans like, some fans don't. At the end of the day, pro wrestling needs a story. They need a story and fans to get invested in. And that's exactly the definition of what we got between Cody and Roman in that segment on Friday Night SmackDown last night. It was a hell of a story, and it was portrayed on national television. And it was great. It got fans invested on really what the hell is going on with Cody and Roman and the plans, and there's still questions, like I mentioned multiple times now, there's still questions that we need answers to, and hopefully we get those answers. What is Roman going to do going up against this new bloodline? He's going to need people to back him up going up against a juggernaut like Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu. I've seen comments about certain people saying that, Fatu's getting pushed way too quick. I don't think so. Fatu, man, Jacob Fatu is a beast. That guy is a monster. And it was one of those additions to WWE that, is great for all parties involved, man. Fatu is going to have a hell of a career in WWE, a future world champion. And at this point, I would not be surprised within the next 6 to 8 months, we're going to see championship gold around his waist, whether it's United States Championship, maybe WWE Championship. I would not be surprised. Fatu is a guy, he's going to be a player in WWE that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. And he's made a hell of an impact so far, more than Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa have. Not taking anything away from those guys, but Jacob Fatu is in a league in his own. He can have a singles career away from the bloodline and still be a force to be reckoned with. Absolutely. And people see that. They see the destruction of Fatu when he gets in that ring, man. That guy he's a savage. And I have a lot of praise for Fatu, man. It's a great addition to WWE, a great addition to Friday Night SmackDown, and obviously a great addition to the bloodline. I also found out that Hikuleo, which I believe is the little brother of Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa, if I'm not mistaken, has signed an NXT contract and looks like he's going to be with NXT. It's a great addition. I know that there was also speculations with, I believe, Zilla Fatu, who wrestled for GCW, and he's no longer with the company. I believe he no-showed an event, and GCW no longer wants to work or have the services of Fatu. And a lot of people are speculating that he might show up on WWE television. I know there was even more speculation that he might go over to AEW, and Tony Khan offered him a deal. Now, I don't know much about Zilla Fatu. I know, obviously, he has ties to the bloodline, obviously. But I haven't seen him wrestle, but I'm not going to take anything away from the guy's athletic ability or what he can do in that ring. I think he was, for a while there, I think he was in a tag team with Jacob Fatu, which, I mean, for what I've seen from just Jacob Fatu, that tag team had to be just insane. Insane. I mean, you look at that springboard moonsault that Fatu lands off the top of that rope, and that guy's, 280, 290, 300 pounds, and just hits that springboard off the top rope, and just, it's perfect, man. It's poetry in motion. And my thing is, even with Roman going up against this new bloodline, if it's going to happen, this Civil War and Survivor Series, Roman's going to have to go through the Rolodex, man, and bring out some family members that can take down someone like Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa and Solo Sikoa, man, because Fatu he's a beast, man. He is a beast. It's just one of those things where, the build towards this is going to be incredible. And you got to look at the narrative here, man. This Bloodline storyline has been going on and off for the past 3 years. Even if you look at Cody Rhodes, it's been going on for quite a while. So to see it unfold and start to slowly unravel, man, it's progressively getting better and better and better as time goes on. And I wish AEW did the same thing with their storylines, man, because it would get a lot more fans invested in the product. And right now, it's not doing it for AEW. And like I said, for as far as if we're comparing apples to oranges between WWE and AEW, WWE is in leagues of their own, man. They're miles and miles and miles ahead of AEW right now. Miles ahead. But like I said, man, I mean, the biggest thing taking out of SmackDown to me, and I think from a lot of people, watching SmackDown last Friday was the biggest thing that I took away from it was obviously Roman and Cody. It was the most impactful thing that happened on SmackDown, and the production value and everything they put into that segment between Roman and Cody was monumental. It was perfect, man. There's no other way I would have done that. I wouldn't have done it. I would have changed a damn thing in that. It was great. Both of them having some kind of, allegiance or alliance, if you will, to the state of Georgia. Obviously, Cody being from Georgia, Roman playing his college football at Georgia Tech. Both of them being face-to-face at the Georgia Tech football stadium. It was just great, man. It paid homage to Roman's football career, and it paid homage to Cody Rhodes being the fact that he is from Georgia. And when Roman asked, what has he done, what has the Rhodes family done for the state of Georgia, and Cody telling Roman that my family has bled for the state of Georgia. You know what I mean? And they have. You look at the careers of Dusty and Dustin and what they did even working for WCW, man. Those guys had a hell of a great career. Great career. And they had great matches at WCW. And WCW, their home was Atlanta, Georgia, under Turner. And I'm happy that Cody kind of put that into the mix with that segment. You know what I mean? And honestly, even the back and forth banner, man, they were both ready for whatever each one of them had to say. You looked at Cody and his responses, you look at Roman, and the other biggest takeaway that I would say from Roman that, was kind of a shock and awe is that when he went to go walk away and then stopped and turned around and looked at Cody and said, "You're in my way in life." Roman has to get past what happened at WrestleMania and get past this whole situation with Cody Rhodes for him to move on, it seems like, to have a better life and to have a better career in WWE. And it's one of those things that I feel like with what happened at WrestleMania and Roman losing that belt, it kind of stained his career a little bit. And now Roman has to get back to what he once was, as that powerful tribal chief, the guy that ran roughshod, if you will, on WWE and mainly Friday Night SmackDown. And that's what Roman wants to get back to. And Cody's in his way. So again, man, there's going to be a lot of questions and a lot of what ifs going into Bad Blood when Roman's going to team up with Cody, taking on, I believe, Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu in Atlanta. It's going to be a big deal, man. It's going to be a high-profile matchup, a marquee matchup, and I'm definitely excited for it. But with that being said, this is my review of Friday Night SmackDown. I hope you guys are out there staying safe. Be careful, and remember, stay classic. Peace.